All right, we are live. Welcome to the InnerStrength Empowerment Hour. I am Lori DePietro Standen, and I am here today for episode 35 with my success coach LT. Our other success coach Joanne is out of town on vacation this week, but we have our client Christy with us today, and I am so excited to welcome her to talk about this topic. And we are talking about what it actually takes to embrace real and lasting change. And I really felt like Christy was the perfect person to talk about this topic because she has been trying to change for a long time and been stuck. And the changes that she has embraced and made in the program in the past 7 months have been incredible. And it's such an important topic for women to talk about because we get in our comfort zones, even if they're not very comfortable, and we get stuck there and we don't know how to get out. And then we get overwhelmed with the feeling of overwhelm. And that makes it harder to get out. So this is just such an important topic, and please feel free to comment and ask questions, and I'm sure that we can answer those. So Christy, again, thank you so much for coming. We really appreciate it. So can you just tell everybody just a little bit about yourself?
I am a mom of 3 kids. I homeschool. I have been vegan for 18 years now. And kind of what led me onto this journey. I had an eating disorder back in high school. I had bulimia and anorexia. I eventually stopped the bulimia. I got caught. My family was very sweet about it. They sat me down. They told me how much they loved me, how I really didn't need to be doing that. So that did stop that, but I still would throw out my meals the minute I walked into school. My lunches I brought with me, so I wouldn't even be tempted to eat it. Of course, my mom must have known because she'd make these gigantic dinners for me. I did before and after classes, and I'd come home for like half hour in between when school ended before I went back to do drama and stuff, and she'd have these huge meals because she knew if she was there with me, I would eat that meal. So then I went to college though, and I didn't have that anymore of anyone watching me. And that's when it really started to go downhill. It was affecting my mental health. I was always tired. I was always thinking about how I could burn more calories. I was running 7 miles a day. I lived on the 11th floor and I refused to allow myself to use the elevator. So I walked up and down the stairs for every class. Our food was on the 2nd floor. So if I did allow myself, which I was allowed 1 meal a day, it was either going to be a bowl of fruit or half a salad. I had to walk down those stairs.
Was this at OSU?
No, I went to UW. I lived in Seattle at the time.
Okay, all right, go ahead.
So yeah, I would walk up and down those stairs. I had met my husband there. Him and I would go on long walks most nights and stuff. But yeah, it was like, hey, if I sit down, I'll burn less calories than if I'm standing up. And if I'm laying down, I'll burn less calories than if I'm sitting or standing. So I was always thinking about that. So for like watching something, I either had to be standing or sitting down. I couldn't lay down, even though I was exhausted because I had no food in me. I was running 7 miles. I had these classes I was trying to keep up with. And so I ended up hitting my lowest about 130, 135 pounds, somewhere around there. And I'm 5'11" for reference. So that's really small for me, especially because my bone structure, even though I was that small, my stomach was going in, I still can't fit in smaller than like a size 4, size 6 pants. So I have thick bones. So that was probably my worst. I got to a point where I could only sleep. So that was really like all I was doing was sleeping all the time. And then I joined this class and it was my English class, and the teacher focused on animal rights. And I was reading all the stuff and I started eating vegan then after that. And you know, vegans are always skinny, right? Like that's what you think.
Right.
So I was like, I can eat because I can stay skinny. And it was that permission I needed because when I was getting so small, everyone was telling me how healthy I looked, how skinny I was, how pretty I was looking. And so, and I would try to like to friends and stuff, hint at what was going on with me, I really needed a permission from a peer that I didn't need to be doing this. I even at one point, and you know, you gotta give my husband credit. We had only been dating a few months, and we were 18 years old. But I once asked him, I was like, if I gained 50 pounds, would you still be with me? And he didn't say no, but he's like, well, it'd be weird if you gained 50 pounds. He was just like wondering where this question was coming from, right?
Right.
But he's still with me, and I gained a lot more than 50 pounds. So the answer
Yeah.
was yes. But so I started eating vegan food, and I slowly started to gain the weight. I never stepped on a scale again, though, till I was married. And then we were trying to get healthy together. And so I really don't know what happened for like 4 years there, on how my weight ended up getting out of hand. And even when I was getting married, because I tried a few times when I was trying to lose weight. And so when we're leading up to the wedding, I would, you know, have a day or two where I really wouldn't eat, or I'd try to skip meals. And I had a friend come up to me once, and he was trying to be nice, and he was like, you know, um, girls are always going crazy trying to lose weight for their weddings. I'm glad you're not doing that. And, you know, he didn't know all I'd been through and stuff, but that's like one of the worst things you can say to someone that's had an eating disorder. But so that was great. But then we got married and I had kids, and I decided when I had my daughter, I wasn't going to ever go back to trying to do that to lose weight, that I couldn't give that example to her. Last thing I
Right.
wanted was her to be doing that. So I just really focused on eating good foods. Unfortunately, I didn't, it's still, I couldn't lose the weight. And I was blaming on all those years of my eating disorder that I just screwed up my body. And
Right.
so I was like, I had always been a good size, and I'd been a very athletic build and stuff growing up. And I felt I ruined it, and that I could never have it back, and that I just had to accept that this was me.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So you were how much overweight when we met?
Um, I'd say I've lost 60 pounds. My original goal was to lose at least 80. But I really could lose 100. I remember Joanne asking me how much I wanted to lose, and I said, well, you know, to get to like the weight I was before I had all my issues would be like 100, but I don't think I could ever get there again. But I don't know, I might be able to. And the nice thing is, I mean, already I feel amazing, and that's still with 20 more
Yeah.
to my original goal. And so my body will tell me when it's done,
Yes.
and I don't have to focus on that anymore. So.
Yeah, I think what we're talking about here with everything that you're saying, and April says it's so tough because that reinforcement that you get from others when they're talking about, oh, you're so skinny,
Mm-hmm.
just fuels the progression, you know, with your eating disorder. Um, so, but what we're talking about, whether you've had been diagnosed with a quote unquote eating disorder or not, is just a really unhealthy relationship with food. Even if you are anorexic, it is still a food addiction. It's still, because when you're anorexic, that's all you're thinking about. So it's still an addiction, even though it looks different than bulimia, which is what I had when I was in high school. And so it is really, even though you can overcome, like, you know, you and I did, you're no longer binging and purging. You might, you know, you're no longer starving yourself. It's still it's the relationship with food that is still bad and is still so hard to overcome. So like you said, you know, it's still such a struggle, even though you weren't doing those particular things anymore. So what made you choose my program?
Um, so it really kind of hit ahead when I was on vacation with my family in Disney, the beginning of December.
And
And I
that
was,
was the before picture that everybody has seen by now who's watching this. So go ahead.
yeah, that's just like a few weeks before I started, and like a week before I called you, because I wanted to start the day after my birthday. So we talked, and then I would start like a week or two after that. But yeah, so I got just really grumpy. I was just always mad, you know. I felt nothing I could do. I could be better. And I had created this new thing over the last year where, well, the year before that, where I was deciding I was going to be happy with who I am. That I knew women of all shapes and sizes that were gorgeous and always looked amazing no matter what they were wearing because they had the confidence. And so I was like, I'm going to do that. I'm going to just accept me for me and I'm going to be confident. The problem is like you said, like I'm always thinking about food and how to do it right and everything. And I wasn't confident. And so it wasn't working. And I was just really angry because at this point I had started to put on weight, even though I was trying so hard. And so I was grumpy all the time and I was getting really grumpy after the trip with my husband. And he sat me down one day and he just was like, Chrissy, what am I doing wrong? I feel like I'm being a bad husband. What can I do to be better? I feel like you're always upset with me. And I was like, oh my God, like I'm being grumpy because I'm mad at me. And I finally admitted to him because I've never like told him this stuff. I was like, I'm not mad at you. I'm mad at me. And if anything, I feel awful because you're stuck with me. I literally said, and that's how I always was feeling. He's stuck with me. He deserves better. This is his one life. He should be with someone better than me. And like, of course, he's like, what do you mean? I love you. You're beautiful. Like, I'm not stuck with you. And, but that's how I felt. And that's always what I was thinking whenever we were doing things and stuff like, he's stuck with this and I feel so bad for him. And again, it was my confidence was just so bad. And so he's like, what can I do to help you? What can we do? And I've tried therapy. I've tried, Weight Watchers and I did Whole30 and of course trying to veganize all this stuff is not fun. I mean, it's horrible trying to make a vegan version of all this. So I was like, I need someone that helps with my food and tells me how I need to eat. I just need a plan. Like I'm good at following directions. I just need someone to tell me what my plate should look like, what I should do. I was like, but it's more than that. Like it is mental. The only time I got even close to getting better mentally, I was working with a naturopath and she sat me down and I talked to her about my weight. And she was like, okay, well, if you want to work out and stuff, let's talk about what you need for you. So I was like, I need someone that like talks to me too. And I was like, I don't know who will do that. And then I've been watching you for like 2 years now. And so just immediately I was like, Lori. And he's like, what? I was like, there's this woman, Lori, I've been watching for years on Facebook. And she's always talking about mindset. And she's a nutritionist. So I think I should reach out to her. And he said, do it. So that's why I reached out to you.
Yeah, it's so interesting how people they tell me that they stalk me for years before they actually sign up, which I get it because we've all tried so many things and it's hard to commit to something if you feel like a failure because you feel like here's just one more thing. This is what I hear from women all the time. Here's just one more thing I'm going to fail at. And that is it's daunting and plus there's just a lot of stuff out there that's just not sustainable, gimmicky, that you can't follow anyway. The whole industry makes it hard for women to have any trust. So when I remember the first time I talked to you and I remember you saying, I think maybe I've screwed my body up so much that it's just not going to come off, that the weight's just not going to come off. And so I remember us talking about that. But so how confident were you when you first signed up? Were you thinking like, or were you like, like seriously, how are you feeling?
I thought, I was always able to get off like the first 20 pounds and then I would halt. So I was pretty confident I'd do that, but I was kind of entering it more of if I don't lose the weight, at least I'll be healthy inside. I was sick of going to doctors and being told all the time, like, oh, we need to run tests at you just from one look at me. Let's see if you have diabetes. Even though, I ate a plant-based diet. I ate a pretty healthy plant-based diet. My proportions just were crazy. I don't mean I was eating way too much meal. Actually, I would try and keep my meals smaller. I wasn't eating the right foods.
The
I
right
wasn't
ratios,
eating,
yeah.
I wasn't eating enough veggies. I was eating too many of the carbs. And so I just was sick of that. And so like my goal was just to be able to walk into a doctor's office and not immediately have them want to take blood tests of me to check to see if I have diabetes. So
Right. It's so disheartening when you walk in. And first of all, the first thing they do is put you on the scale. And then they're like, okay, they're writing this down and you're like, oh, here we go. I mean, it really is, it's not a fun thing. So I totally get that. So immediately you and I started working on mindset, and there is a version of my program where you can get more mindset work, and that's what Christy opted for. But how did that make a difference for you, the mindset work?
I had to watch a couple of videos before we started talking, and it was kind of like you're watching this and it's kind of mind blowing, right? Because you're like, it should be so obvious that I should think this way and handle things this way. And I didn't, but already it was like starting to change things. So just those videos. And then we were talking and you helped me put into practice the things. And it just made me be calmer in life and have a little bit more confidence on how to approach. I have a lot of social anxiety. And so it's like, even if I got a call or had to make a call to a company, I would just stress out. And that's when I would go and do my binge eating, or right after a conversation, because I would think so much about it after I exited it. And so kind of right away, that stopped. I wasn't worried about that stuff anymore. I wasn't even having to hide from the kitchen at the beginning of the program suddenly, because we were talking, and I was learning how to deal with it. And I let go of control, which in the end gave me control.
Yes.
While at the same time, he taught us where to take control that was important for our own well-being, where to set our boundaries and stuff. But he also kind of taught us we can't control other people, and we shouldn't be trying. And so I didn't try to decide how people were going to behave when they talked to me or anything. And therefore I wasn't controlling where they were going to go with things. And so it wasn't so, and one thing he taught us was when you enter a situation, you're setting the mood. You can change it and you can set it. And so I just started, when I was talking to people, I just stayed calm through everything. I didn't let anxiety get in the way. I didn't let getting on the defensive right away start. I just entered it calmly. And suddenly I was having great conversations with everyone. And so it took the one big trigger I had for when I did binge was social situations. Like when I worked and I'd come home from work and I would just stand in the kitchen and be telling my husband all the stuff that stressed me out that happened while I eat a bag of something, right? And so I don't do that anymore. I don't think about the food or anything, because I feel in control and confident in how I'm handling situations.
Yeah, and I think that's, like you said, we don't always think of things that way, that when so much of our binge eating comes from stress and feeling lack of control in situations, but it's, instead of, we're not really thinking that through, we're just reacting. And until we arrest that process, we don't really know what we're capable of. And so, that's such a, and for anyone who is watching, there is a set of videos that I did called the Mindset Marathon that I have everyone watch. And then when we meet, we go over different aspects of that. They have, PDFs that they fill out with that. So there's sort of like some homework, and then we meet and talk about those. So what sort of changes were so you said those were the changes that you were making early on. And then you also had the one-on-one coaching with Joanne, who we featured yesterday. Tell us how that impacted you.
So I really felt like you must be really good. You really put people together with someone that's a lot like them. And so it was like, when I immediately met Joanne, I felt connected, because I feel like our personalities are a lot alike and our struggles are a lot alike. And I actually was kind of amazed, because, when you talk to me like, okay, I'm going to put you with Joanne, in that first conversation. And when I met her, I was like, man, Lori had me down to a T. She really found someone that's just like me. And what also helps with that is you can't put anything over them, because they would try the same thing. So
Right. Right.
So, and Joanne, like, I said it on her post yesterday. She has this way, and I turn and look at Brett whenever this happens, where the moment I start to slip or I'm getting a little emotionally overwhelmed, or I haven't planned out my week at all, which I don't do a ton of planning. I'm not the best planner, but I usually have some kind of plan. It's like that instant I'll get a ping and Joanne will be like, "What's your plan?" Or "How are you doing today?" And I'm like, how
Yeah.
did she know? Like, how did she know that I needed her right that minute? And she's just been great. She'll send me sometimes a funny meme if, she knows that I'm struggling with something. And when I traveled, because I traveled for 5 weeks, and I was going to travel with the plan of trying to maintain or at least not gain a lot. And not only did I not gain, I stayed consistent on my loss during my whole travel, which I found out when I got home because I didn't take a scale or anything, which Joanne talked me out of because I was a weigh every day person. And
I
so she had to
remember.
talk with me about that. And so I challenged myself and went without the scale, even though I told her if I go without the scale, I'm going to end up binge eating the whole beginning of the trip. And then the last week, I'm going to try to make up for it. But I didn't because I'm not thinking about food anymore. But she talked me through all that and she checked on me during the trip. How are things going? How are you feeling? And before it, she was like, okay, here's the struggles I've had when I've gone traveling. So let's plan ahead. How are you going to deal with this and that? What might trigger you? What might be foods that other people have that you keep out of your house now? And, how are you going to handle that situation? And so it just really helps because she thought of things that I never thought of. And so it's just like this extra person to be, I mean, all the coaches in your group are amazing and they all are cheerleaders of us. And it's wonderful because I don't just have my one-on-one coach cheering me on, LT, she's always the first person to comment anytime anyone puts a weight loss or anything, or struggle. And, April's been amazing with the running and stuff. So all of them are amazing, but it's just really nice to have that one person that always is thinking about you and reaching out and being your personal little cheerleader, as well as, thinking of the things you don't think of and help you through.
And I think it's really important what you're saying, that the way that our coaching is different in the program is it's not just, you're not messaging her going, how many calories are in this, which one of these foods is better to choose for this. Like, it's actual real life stuff.
Yeah.
It's real life situations, because that's where we tend to stumble.
Yeah.
It's not so much the food itself, but the situations. And so that's why our coaches are so great at getting to know everyone. And really that way they know what issues to help you delve into. And they can develop that Jedi sense of when is Christy struggling? The radar is going off and then she gets to ping you. So now with your relationship with food, what you were talking about, and I actually addressed this a bit in a post last week, but you were talking about how you were already plant-based, but the way you were eating was not resulting in you getting healthier and losing weight. And it was actually, it seems like, triggering you. There were certain foods that were triggering you. So in this program, we work off ratios, and so it's balanced, and we don't count calories or cut carbs or anything like that. So can you describe how doing things this way has helped your mindset with food and helped you not to be triggered and binge? Because I think that's the thing people don't get when they're like, how do you do a plant-based diet? That's going to be way too many carbs. I'm not going to be able to lose, you know what I mean? They start spinning out as soon as you talk to them about it. So tell me what your thoughts are on that.
You took all the guesswork out. So I love, sorry, did that get loud? I just had something go off next to me.
Oh, it's okay.
I love I'm very mathematical mind. So I love how you give where we can give the measurement. For people that aren't mathematically, you show what the plate should look like and stuff. So like, I love grabbing out my measuring cups and I just kind of cook food. I cook a bunch and I measure out what I need for that night. And I put the rest and then I can use some of it for another night. And so it's been great for me and my husband, who's gone every step of the way with me on this. And the plant-based, people worry you're going to eat too many carbs. Like, I ate too many carbs, but it wasn't because I was plant-based. I was eating too many carbs because I was plant-based with 3 kids and they ate a lot of carbs, and I didn't feel it was okay to make my own meals. And I also didn't feel it was okay to eat too many veggies because I needed to make sure they got it. So I always gave them, and I just take a little for myself because I want them to be the healthier ones.
Yeah.
And when I got really good fruit, when I got berries and stuff, I mean, I love berries, but I gave the berries to the kids because they love berries and they could wipe through all of it instantly. And so I didn't want to take any from them. I knew it was good for them. And so that was part of my problem. But I was also making meals for 3 young growing kids. And so there was like, I never put butter in. I told myself I hated a lot of the foods I thought were unhealthy. So white potatoes, I hated. So I never made that, you know. I never even really did corn or stuff. I was very cautious of things that were stuff that they tell you aren't good for you. But I would make, you know, and I would buy lentil noodles. And I thought, okay, I'm being healthy. I'm eating lentil noodles. And that's where it gets dangerous. You think I'm not eating a carb. I'm eating these noodles that are lentil, this and that. And so I told myself that was healthy. And
Right.
so I would allow myself to eat those ones. And I would use cheese when I would make, you know, their lasagna. I would use a lot of cheese to get them to eat it. And I was eating with them because, yeah, I didn't want to make multiple meals. And I was trying to encourage them, like, hey, this is good, because you know how kids are. And they might like a food for 2 months and suddenly they'll hate it. So
Oh,
I
yeah.
was trying to encourage it still is good. You can't tell me it's not. So with your program, I learned it's okay to make my own stuff, and it's okay to take 3 cups of veggies. There's still plenty for my children. And so they still eat plenty, but it's okay for me to eat that stuff too. I'm not being a bad mom for doing that.
Right. And that's the thing is it's all about self-care. When you are taking care of yourself, that this is so key because like you said, when you weren't taking care of yourself, but you thought you were taking care of everybody else, your husband comes to you and says, what are we doing wrong? Because you're so irritable. And yet now that you are taking care of yourself, that allows you to be a totally different person around your family. And I know LT, you've talked about that a lot too.
Oh, absolutely. Yes. And you know, Christy's story and mine are similar in that aspect of with the husband's story. You know, she felt like that she didn't match him, or you know, he was stuck with her and doing that. Christy, I felt exactly the same way. I felt like he is just got the raw end of the deal here. And I felt so sorry for him in so many areas. But you know, he never treated me that way. And I know your husband didn't either, but we did that to ourselves. And that has been one thing that I have loved flipping the script on with this, is because, you know, I'm not doing that to myself anymore. And actually, our marriage of 29 years is better than it's ever been. So I'm so thankful he hung through with me during those times that I was down on myself. And I know your husband's the same way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the really exciting part, and the part that is so easy to miss because
Mm-hmm.
we are raised to do for others, and we're raised to think it's selfish to do for ourselves. And
Yes.
so, but yet then you're so depleted that you don't have what you would like to have to give to other people, and you're not feeling good about yourself. So it's such a vicious circle.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm glad that you brought that up. So how, that being said, how has your relationship with yourself changed?
You know, I was really thinking last night, getting prepared for this talk, and I was thinking about how I was when I was at perfect weight and everything back in college and high school, and how I was all these past years and how I am now. And one thing that stuck out is I was sad, I was depressed, I was exhausted, I was in pain both of those times. Like, it was the exact same feeling. It made me no better than when I deprived myself as when I overate. And now that I don't think about food and I have a good relationship with food, I'm happy. I have all this extra space in my head to do all these extra things with. And so I'm confident, I'm happy. I don't feel like I have my social anxiety anymore. I always thought I had this issue, and I think it was what I was eating was causing it, and the way I was being. And so I'm just, you know, now when my husband and I are walking, you know, because we take walks every night, we always have, And, you know, now when he holds on to me, I feel proud, and I feel that he should be proud, and I feel it's okay. I'm not embarrassed for him. And so I'm happy with who I am. I've decided who I'm gonna put out in this world. As you always talk about, who are you gonna be? Who are you putting out? And so I've decided who I want people to see, and that's who I'm gonna be. And I'm not gonna make apologies for it. That is who it is. If you don't like that version of me, then I'm sorry. Then I guess we're just not a good fit as people to hang out together. It's okay. Not everyone works together, but this is who I am, and that's what I'm going to put out. And so, yeah, I don't have to think about it. I don't spend all night sitting up thinking about every conversation I had, and did I offend someone? Did I say
Yes.
the wrong thing?
Yes.
Right? That's
That's
horrible.
Yes.
exhausting. It's exhausting. And yeah,
Exhausting.
you are, like you said, you've decided who you're showing up as. And instead of having, we talk a lot in the group about agreements, and you had the agreement with yourself that you had social anxiety. So this is just something you had decided, when in fact, you really don't. And so, and that's what you found out through this process. And so that is such a cool outcome. And confidence, it's not, you don't have to come into the program believing in yourself, obviously. That's what we're talking about here, because that's, you can develop that. And that's what we do in the program, is really focus on how you can be the best version of yourself and feel good about you. And so, and seeing your pictures from your trip, and
Mhm.
you and your kids, and you said that's the other thing I wanted to say, is the confidence that you have in yourself now that you can wear shorts, and you haven't worn those like
Mhm.
ever. That, like, to me, that is like so huge.
Oh, yeah. I live in them now. Like I actually just ordered more because I was like, hey, Brett, I can't do this with 2 pairs of shorts. And like, I have to have one in the wash, and then I hang dry them. They're not drying in time. So I ordered some more. More are supposed to arrive today. Cause like, even when I was, again, at my smallest, I was not confident at all in shorts. And so I tried to wear shorts and skirts, but I just was so self-conscious then those days. Actually, my daughter was just saying, my youngest, it's kind of weird, Mom. I'm the only one that wears dresses and skirts in the house. No one else does. So maybe I'll stop wearing them. I said, no, why don't I start wearing them? And she was just like, her smile was huge. So now she wants to go and pick out some dresses and skirts together so we can go out together. So, it's just things I wouldn't have offered before, because I know then I would have been even more self-conscious when out, and my, inability to socialize would have been even worse. So.
Yeah.
That is so amazing, and that's how it trickles out. It really is a domino effect. You start with getting your mindset right and getting healthier, but it's something where you're stopping a generational curse from happening by making sure that your daughter feels confident,
Mhm.
and that she sees a confident mom. Um, and that is so exciting. April says that makes my heart so happy.
I know it.
So your husband and your kids, have they gotten on board with this at all? Like, where are they with all of it?
My kids still pretty much eat the same meals I've always been making, but I've been adding more veggies in. I'm slowly working them up. They all like different veggies and everything, but every night Brett and I make different ones. So I kind of like will put aside some for others, and I buy, like, my one daughter doesn't like broccoli and cauliflower, but the others love it. So I go and I buy her salad because she loves salad and they don't. So then the nights that that's their side, she can make herself a nice big salad and add whatever she wants to it. So they're getting smaller portions of the meals I made before, and they're getting more veggies and fruit added to it. And they haven't even noticed. Like,
Yeah.
to them, it's just like, okay. And my husband has been every step of the way. He juiced with me when I juiced. When we were doing our trip, when we did our driving days, we did the juice again. Because it was honestly a lot easier. I ordered from Plant Power Chef. I had like all my meals. We took
I know.
chest, and we got a really nice one. Like, we were 5 days on the road and everything was still frozen at the end. And so we were just going and made sure all our hotels had the heater thing so we could do those meals. But yeah, so he's been with me. He's lost 39 pounds. He's the lowest he's ever been since his full height. And he was always one of those guys that never looked like overweight or anything. And yeah, he's at his lowest full size weight ever.
That's
So
amazing. That's so exciting. I'm so happy for you guys. And that's how John and I actually, John gained weight. The great thing about this program is that it's not what it helps you do, like you mentioned before, is it helps your body settle at the weight you're supposed to be at. And John was actually underweight. When he and I met, he's 6 feet tall and he weighed 155. So he was a very thin guy, and he went plant-based and he actually gained 25 pounds. So he's at his ideal weight now, which is great. So what advice, we're talking about real change. So what would you say is the advice that you would give people about how to create true and lasting change? Because it's, like you said, like you had started things before, you lose 20 pounds. We've all done it, right? It's the yo-yo that we all do. What's different about this with your mindset that you would say has allowed you to feel like this is a permanent change?
I mean, I'm not a person I've ever been before. It's just so easy now. Life's just easy now. So I guess that's what makes it feel like a permanent change to me is, I mean, like we said, everything focused around food, everything focused around calories burning, everything. And I don't have to focus on that anymore. And so it's just allowed me to focus on me. And now that I've done that with our mindset work, like life just feels so much easier. And so I guess for me, my advice would be is you can't do it halfway. If you just work on one thing, it's not going to fix everything. You'll go right back. You'll gain back the weight, just like I did every time with every program that I tried, Beachbody, everything. It just comes back because I wasn't working on the mindset, even though I was sometimes going to a therapist at the same time I was doing the other stuff. It was not the same as the work we do here. There I was talking and they were listening and maybe giving me some coping mechanisms. Here I got taught how to change my thinking. And I didn't think I could ever change my thinking. I mean, I had one time where I had this fear anxiety really bad after my kids, and my therapist had me just sit in the car and she would say, okay, count to this before you get out of the car, and then go directly and go to all the doors and check all the closets. It wasn't fixing anything. It made it worse because suddenly I was thinking about all those doors and all those closets and to check those. And doing that with 2 young kids, she even said, if you have a garage, put them in the car in the garage, leave them there, and you go in and do. Whereas here I've learned how to actually think differently and approach things differently, and learned it's okay to think certain ways that I thought it wasn't. And so it would just be to work on everything at once, otherwise you're just fixing the brakes on a bike that's low on tires and air and tires, and it's not going to run still, So put your work into both, and you don't have to be confident starting on it. You can go in and fake it till you make it, because honestly, with all the support you have, you will make it fast.
Yeah, that's so true. It's like so many of the things that we do are really like putting a Band-Aid on a gaping wound, and it's not going to hold, at least not for long. And so that, you have to have that multifaceted approach, and you have just done so well with it, and you're such an inspiration in the group. We are all continually inspired by you, and so happy for you as well. So
absolutely, you have been so consistent in your journey, and you just have really knocked my socks off, Christy. I watch you every week and I just think, gosh, this girl, she is just doing it. And I have just been so proud for you as you've done this. And you have been a huge asset to our group. You really have been.
Really appreciate that.
Yeah, we appreciate you. And yeah, I think sometimes, we've all been, when you've been trying for so long, it's like, I think you feel like I know I felt, and I think LT felt, which is that I just want to know what the answer is. If someone will tell me the answer, I can do it.
What is it?
Right. And then so once I figured out the answer, I was like, oh my God, this is it. This is it. So then I had to go tell everybody about it.
That's it. That's it.
But yeah, that's the thing, is just having the answer finally allows you to just run with it. And it's fun. That's the fun part of it. If you are able to embrace the changes, which you have beautifully, then you know, yeah, when you run with it, it's a fun process.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we appreciate you so much, Christy, and thank you so much for coming on board. And you know, if anyone has any questions, I'm sure Christy will check the comments later. You're welcome to, if you have questions or comments for her, to put those in the group. So we'll see you later, Christy.
All right,
Okay.
thank you.
Thanks.
Oh my gosh, she's amazing.
Do something really consistent numbers, consistent. And when I see consistency like that, and you do too, that shows such a trust for yourself. That's putting myself, I'm putting myself at the top of the list. I matter. I'm not being selfish, but what I want matters because I'm determined. And that's what it shows me. It shows me that every time.
And it's so heartwarming for me, because when I first talked to Christy, it was exactly what she said. She was very much like, I don't think I can lose the weight. I think I've probably screwed up my body so much that it's not going to happen.
Right.
I have this issue and this issue, you know. So she was very honest, but she was definitely in a place where she was like, I want to try this, but I don't know, because you know, she had been beat down by all of it for so long.
And I was too, with all those programs and then having surgery and all of that. And I thought, you know, maybe I had messed up the way I do business too, and that I was a special case. But as it turns up, she's not a special case and I'm not a special case. We're very typical. Exactly. Very typical.
Yeah. And that's the thing, when I talk to women across the board, and if anyone has seen my video on women, weight, and inflammation that's here in the group, that's the first thing I say, is that we all feel like so isolated. But when I'm messaging back and forth, because I try to send a welcome message to everyone who comes into the group, or one of us does. Yeah. We hear the same stories over and over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I see myself in so many of them, as you do too. And that's where, you know, that's where the fun process is because you can say, you really can change. This is not something that's foreign to you, and it's not going to be hard, and it's not going to make you, it's not the end of the world, and you're not going to be angry and upset as you're doing it. There is joy in the journey, and there's all kinds of new discoveries as you go along. And then weight will be not at the forefront anymore, because you'll get it and it'll be great, but you'll have a whole nother set of things in your wheelhouse that you're excited about.
Well, we actually talked about this a little bit, you know, in our group this week, about the outcome. We all want to get the weight off. And I just want to congratulate you that you have, you know, you're at your goal weight.
I am.
And LT posted a tent in the group this week, and she said, can anybody guess why am I posting this tent? And I knew immediately what it was. I said, because you're camping out. You're camping out at
I'm pitching a tent, and I'm camping out at this goal weight. And I'm going to hang out here and enjoy the scenery for a while. Yeah. And you know, I've wanted to be able to pitch that tent in this area for a very, very long time. So, you know, it is sweet when you get it, but I'm not going to stop here. This is just the beginning of a lifetime that I have left of exciting things that I'm looking forward to. I'm about to be an empty nester. You know, we're going to be married 30 years next year. There's just so many things to look forward to. I'm 51. I have the second act. I'm healthy enough. I'm young enough that I can do this. And I'm so grateful that I get to have all of these opportunities, because I dreamt about it for a long time. But I'll tell you that it's when you get it, it's better than you can even envision, because you can't envision all the nuances once you're here.
Well, and I think that goes back to what Christy was saying and what we talked about earlier in our private group this week, which is that you get the outcome. But what actually makes the difference is focusing on the journey, because then you're gaining this knowledge, these skills, this different mindset that then when you get the outcome, then it's effortless to stay there. Just like she
Yes.
was saying, she's like, this is just so easy. And
Uh-huh.
that's because of the process.
The process, you do your changing in the process. That's right. And you're becoming the person you've always want to be. And then when you land there, when you arrive, you're right. All of that has already taken place. And then you show up for who that person is. And that's why we say there is joy in the journey. And there's a lot to be grateful for and joyful about as you're going down. It is a fun process.
Yeah, I agree. So Louise says that's what makes this group so encouraging, seeing and hearing that you're not alone in the struggles you've had and that there are ways forward, which is what having a one-on-one coach is all about. It's not just the community where we can all talk to one another and you know, understand what someone else is going through, and that alone helps so much.
It
But
does.
to have, like, you know, like Christy said, somebody who is like, I get it. And I'm with you every step of the way. And here's what you need to watch out for, because it's someone who's already traveled the path. So they see where the potholes are.
I've already
And
seen it.
so, and they're like, hey, you want to step around this pothole that's coming up? You know, oh, I didn't see that. I didn't even see that. Thank you.
Right.
So that is, you know, someone to help you navigate on that much of a personal basis is not something you're going to get anyplace else.
No. And you just really feel like that you have the confidence to ask too. You don't, everybody is so welcoming that you don't feel like, I don't want to bother. I don't want to bring somebody down with my stuff. Because before, you may have been in the mindset, because I was at one particular time in my former life, that you didn't want to burden anybody else with all your crap. Right. But you know, really, I welcome it, because that's what I like to get in there and dig and talk about it and think about it, because I've already done it myself. And if I can just do any little bit of a little light bulb moment for anybody, you know, whether it's a growing up or something that happened in college or teenager, or when you first had children and gained weight, you know, I've been through all of that, all of it.
Right. Yeah. And that's, you know, to have someone as your guide, your personal guide as you go through this, you know, that's, you know, it really is, it makes all of the difference. And Michelle says, where do you find the mindset work? So anyone who is a member of my program, so you have a membership site, and on the membership site, there is the mindset work that I was talking about that you go through, and then people meet directly with me to dig into the personal aspects, how it applies to them. So, so what about for you, LT? You know, you and we've talked about mindset a lot in all of the InnerStrength Empowerment hours, but what advice, where do you think lasting change comes from?
Yeah.
Like, what do you think in your mindset?
I have made a change, and it's a lasting change, and I've never said it before. I started doing this program because I had kept clothes, and, you know, I thought just in case, and I'm going to go back. And I always, in the back of my mind, thought I'm going to go back up. I'm going to go back up. But with this program, I have not done that, because I know that I've made lasting change. And here's why. Not only have I made a decision that this is better for my health, and I've seen all the numbers correlate with that. And I'm talking about blood pressure, cholesterol, weight, disposition, mood. I feel myself handling things differently than before. I feel that my whole family dynamic has changed. I feel like that I have actually put on a new set of eyes to the way I see things. And, you know, sometimes when I look back at journals and things that I've written, and I remember how I used to feel about certain things, I never want to go back to that feeling of hopelessness and being in the pit, and something's wrong and everybody's doing something to me and I'm the victim. I really give myself a lot of credit that I have more choice than really what I ever thought that I had. And so I have made a personal choice, and I have literally turned a corner. I have turned a page, and everything about this new page is better. And nobody can argue with that. No doctor can argue with that because my lab works and all my numbers. Nobody in my family can argue with it because we have this little tone of playfulness and happiness and a lightheartedness that I've always wanted it. People in my immediate life can't argue with that because I'm showing up different. And not only am I more calm and leveled out, I'm more in alignment. And I think Christy spoke to that too. She just was, the way she approaches things is different. The way I approach things is different.
Right.
Why in the stinking world would I ever want to go back to the way I used to do business before? I just wouldn't. And that's how I know it's a change, because every check mark is ticked for the better. Every check mark.
It's so, and so just to encapsulate that, because you and Christy, what you're both saying, and it's how I feel too, is the difference is I'm different as a person.
Totally different.
That's the difference, is that I'm a different person. Yes.
Differently, different eyes. I see things in a very crystal clear way before. Before I was very fuzzy on things. And because I was overweight and self-conscious, and because I hid and I isolated and I didn't carry myself well, I just was always muddled in my thinking and took things personally. Gosh, just like that book we talked about, The 4 Agreements, took things personally, made assumptions, didn't do my best, and now I don't do any of that.
Right.
And it really was not that lengthy of a process to get here.
Right.
It really was not.
And not to knock therapy, because I have had therapy. And so
I've been in some therapy.
Yeah,
I've
me
been
too.
in years and years worth of therapy. Yes.
So not to knock that at all.
No.
But what we do is different, because we're teaching a different way of thinking. And it allows you just to kind of bypass a lot of the crap that we ruminate about and that we focus on, and it streamlines your life. It allows you to be the true, the way that I always put it is the engine of your life instead of the caboose.
That's it.
Yeah.
You're the one making control. You're the one in charge. You're the one who is setting the tone. It's not happening to you. You are doing it. You are the one putting it out. And people respond to that because, as we say, you vibrate with a little bit higher. And I definitely know that I'm vibrating higher. My energy level's different. The way I'm clear cut about not accepting that, and that's not going to be acceptable, whereas before I just would have done it. I was I say yes because I was a people pleaser to the core. And didn't want anybody upset with me and didn't want anybody mad at me and needed everything going right because it wasn't going right in here. So I needed this to be A, B, C, D. And so now this can be like this, but I'm over here like this, watching it. Going,
Right. So it's the opposite. It's exactly
it's
what
the
Christy
opposite.
said, is like all of this stuff would be going on around her. And so what would she do? She would binge.
That's it.
And so, but now she's not affected by that stuff the way she was before. And that's what we talk about. We talk about, so, focusing on the journey and on the goals that you have for the type of person that you want to show up as every day. Yeah. And that's actually what gets you to the outcome. So you don't have to start out saying, okay, I'm going to lose 50 pounds. I mean, that can be the outcome that you are manifesting. But the thing you focus on is the journey instead of that outcome. And then the outcome just happens. And so by the time that you get there, you're so happy that you've gotten to your outcome, but it's actually secondary to all of the amazing things that have happened on the journey on the way there, which is the exact opposite of what the weight loss industry teaches you. That's
exactly right. And your cup is not half full or half empty. You can pour out your half cup and fill it up how you want to.
It's all you. Yeah.
It's all you. It's perspective. And I'll tell you something else, and I've mentioned it many, many times here, but it was a key component. I got very honest and I got very, very authentic about my food addiction. And once I got a hold on that and broke hold with this, 5-day detox and with these fresh, whole food, plant-based foods, it just opened up a world to me because I was consumed with that. So I no longer, and like Christy said, I feel like a whole chunk has been taken away because you're not focusing and ruminating and fixated on that area. It frees you up. It gets the monkey off your back in so many areas. And that's so freeing. And, you know, sometimes it is hard to take an honest look and to make an honest admission. And that's where you as a guru come in with this mindset work. And then we're going to be right there supporting you as a coach, you know, to build you up and motivate you and say, you know, sometimes it's like this, but we're going to pick ourselves up because in our old life, and I can speak this to everybody, in our old life, if we're getting to this point, what we're doing is we're putting it off. We're putting it off till a better time, or this isn't convenient, or I've got to wait till after this holiday or this birthday or after this. We need to pick it up now.
Well, because there's always a holiday and there's always a vacation and there's always a cookout and there's
when is there not?
The key is to learn how to do it during those times, which you absolutely can, because we're not doing keto or something where you can't have it, you know, we're not doing anything that is going to prevent you from living your life.
Absolutely not. And it's delicious food. And we're going to show you brands we like and things we like and recipes we like and quick ways to do it and how to stock a kitchen fridge and a pantry and all of that. I mean, all of that's covered because as we've said many times, Lori has put the dots very, very close together in the book and the website and the videos and the tutorials. You are not in no man's land. You are with a community where it's very, very 1, 2, 3. We tell you what to do.
Right. We've got you. Really, when I say we're holding your hand every step of the way, that's
we really are.
That's a fact. Emily says yes, 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 because she's in our program.
That's right.
So for those of you who are interested, I am running the 10% off special and the Pick Your Coach week. So scroll backwards from this video if you're here in the group or watching the replay, or you can also in the search bar at the top of the screen, you can search pick your coach, and you'll get to know all 3 of our coaches. You have until Sunday to pick your coach and sign up. So send me a private message and I will get you going on that. We are so excited to welcome. We have welcomed so many new people into the group.
We've had a week.
It has been really exciting. There's lots of new energy in there and we absolutely love it. And I welcome your questions as well. So feel free to comment on this video as well. We always go back and check. And if you're watching the replay, feel free to comment. We always appreciate you joining in. I hope you have an amazing weekend. We've had a short week this week, so that's always good news. So have a great weekend and we will see you next time on the InnerStrength Empowerment Hour.
Bye. Have a good weekend.